So quickly, here's my problem. I have a folder inside of my library, which is in my user folder, and it's inside my preferences folder, and it's called Adobe Photoshop CC 2014 Settings. And I have this folder on both computers, and I would like, when I make a change on one computer inside of Photoshop, which will update these files, I would like that to automatically sync over to my other computer. So if I change an action on one computer, when I open it up on my other computer, I can see that action. Now I can do an upload settings with Photoshop CC, and I can go to my other computer and do a download settings with Photoshop CC. But the problem with that is if I forget to do an upload settings and I'm not at my other computer, when I want to get to that, I can't force that to update. I have no way to get to it. And unfortunately, Creative Cloud will not automatically sync my Photoshop settings. So I've been trying to figure out a way around this, and I thought I could move this over to my Dropbox folder and create an alias or a symbolic link to point to it, and that would be simple enough to do that on both machines. I've done that with a few other programs, but that doesn't work. For some reason, Photoshop insists this folder is exactly in this location, and I can't point to it, it being in another location. It doesn't work. So I'd almost given up, and I think I found a solution. So what I've done to demonstrate this and make it a little clearer, I've created a folder inside my document folder, which is of course in my user folder on my computer, and I've called a folder called Dropbox Sync. Now this is my main computer, and inside this folder I've put in two files, file number 1 JPEG, one file number 2 JPEG. Now what I've done is I've got my other computer over here using screen sharing. So this is actually my laptop now. And here you can see that I've created the same folder, again, inside my Documents folder, inside on Wayne's MacBook Pro. And inside of this folder that's for my demo, I put two files, Keystone 1 and Keystone 2. So what I'm going to do is sync these two folders, so when I'm done, the folder will have all four files on both computers, but I'm not going to put those folders inside of Dropbox. So to accomplish this, we're going to use what's called a symbolic link. Now I'm going to show this on a Macintosh. The only thing that somebody that is on Windows would need to do is do a little search to figure out how you would make a symbolic link on Windows. I know that it can use them, and you would create the links and then place them in the same locations that I am, and other than that I think it would work just the same. The quickest way I know of to actually create a symbolic link is to use a little utility called Symbolic Linker. And the quickest way I know how to do that is to do a Google search for Symlink OS X. Once you get there, in the top of this somewhere should be a link to Symbolic Linker for Mac at Mac Update. Click that link to go to Mac Update. Click the download button to download. Click the Leave Mac Update and Download button so it can actually download. And it's less than a megabyte. So now you can see that I've got my file. I'm going to show that over here. And it's a DMG file, so I'll double click and mount it. And now I've got my Symbolic Linker service program ready to go. So to make this accessible, I need to install it in my base library, not my user library. For me, the quickest way is to just click here on my boot hard drive. Here's my system level library. You notice it's not inside my user folder. And this is not hidden by default in OS X like the user library folder is. I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to scroll down. Let's make this a little more legible. And I should have a folder called Services. Now, actually, most people will not have that folder. And because I don't have a folder called Services, I need to create that folder. So I'm going to create a new folder. I usually just hit Command and Shift N. It's going to ask for a password because I'm doing this folder inside the System folder. So this is my login password. And I'm going to rename that folder Services. It's got to be spelled exactly like that. I assume the capital is important, but it's Services, not Service. And that's going to that will place itself alphabetically now up here. And what I do is drag the Symbolic linker service and I drop it into that folder, and now it's there. Now I believe for this to become active, you have to log out and log in. I don't think you need to restart, and it might even work without logging out. I'm not sure. I've had it installed for a while. You can tell if it's available by right-clicking an icon in the Finder, and under the Services menu at the bottom, you should now see a choice called Make Symbolic Link. And that's what we're wanting to do, and this is a really easy way to do it once you've installed this service. So now we're ready to create our synchronization. The first thing you need to do is turn Dropbox syncing off. When you set this up, if you don't have it turned off, it won't work. You'll run into some weird problems. The easiest way to do that is to click the Dropbox icon in your menu bar, and where it says up to date, if I hover over it, you'll notice it says pause syncing, and I just click there. Okay, I'm going to go over to my laptop now, and again I'm going to find this folder, it's right here, that I want to sync, and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to also pause syncing. Now the steps are pretty simple. The first thing I do is make a symbolic link of this Dropbox sync folder. So I right click, go to Services, make symbolic link. And now I need to place that in my Dropbox folder. So I'm going to hover here, let that open the Dropbox folder, and we're looking for this special sync folders. I just want to hide it, and I'm going to drop it in there. So now we've got the Dropbox sync Symlink, and of course if I double click on that, it will go to that original Dropbox folder, which is in my Documents folder. And what I want to do now is change the name so it's the same name as the original folder by deleting the word Symlink. Now we're ready to go back over to the other computer and basically do the same thing. Right click, Services, make symbolic link. Because I just installed this, it's going to ask me if you need your security preferences set up so it actually allows you to open this. Going to drag it and drop it into Dropbox. And in Dropbox, I'm going to find this special sync folders and drop it into there. And then I'm going to click here, rename it Dropbox Sync. Now I will enable syncing on one computer. So I'll click back up here, turn syncing back on, and I'm going to wait. You'll notice that now Dropbox will index and see there's changes, and it's going to basically upload those files. And it's now up to date. So now I'm ready to go back to the other computer. And here again I will turn syncing on. And I get a nice little update over here that my files have been updated. And now that we're up to date, what I can do is go to my Documents folder and go to this Dropbox sync folder, and you'll notice now all 4 files are on this computer. And if I go back over to the other computer and I open my Documents folder, all 4 files are there. Even though those files are not in those folders are not in Dropbox, because of the way we set up the Symlinks, Dropbox thinks it is and thinks it's the same folder. So I end up with a folder on each computer that's not contained in the Dropbox folder and yet is being synced through Dropbox. What this means is if I go back to my Dropbox folder, I can show you this. And in this you'll see that I've got this Adobe Photoshop Settings folder, which was the cause of the reason I even tried to figure this out. If I open this, this goes to my actual folder inside the preferences where Adobe requires it to be. And yet, any time I change something in Photoshop, such as a new action, it will sync to my other computer's folder. And when I open up Photoshop and hit anything I've changed there, position of my windows, my palettes, adding or taking reactions, that's all reflected in the other computer. and I don't have to worry about trying to upload and download my settings from Adobe Creative Cloud. So that's how you can sync a folder on 2 different computers using Dropbox, even if those folders are not inside the Dropbox folder. I hope that was helpful to some. I know for me it's been a great way to keep my Photoshop synced together. Has avoided a lot of frustration that I've been having for a long time.